Actually, there's a bullshit ad at the top, and here's some superficial shit. I mean, Johnny Knoxville, who fucking cares? Huntress Thompson, 8 babies. Among other things. There's some Star Wars shit, some Matthew Perry bullshit. None of this is relevant to the numerous accounts that I follow. I'm not following any of this shit. None of it. It's irrelevant. The point to this video is I found an author who he dishes up some bullshit propaganda. He dances through the mud. Proverbial. Or was it proverbially? No, proverbial. What's the word that I'm looking for? Either way, he dances through the muddy propaganda. Keep in mind, I've only eaten a little bit today, but maybe that's just my brain malfunctioning. Who knows? Either way, the proverbial mud. That's what I think I'm trying to spit out. Back to point. I just plugged him into YouTube a couple different times on a couple different accounts, and nothing having to do with the books that he wrote pops up. Not at the top of the stack. If I scroll for a couple days, I might find something. But nothing. I plugged it into Google, nothing at the top of the stack that's relevant. He is, or he was, he has since passed on. He's related to somebody else who's famous for a bunch of bullshit. It's a Jewish family, mind you. For what it's worth, and that's not much of a surprise either. But you won't find anything having to do with the writing whatsoever online, is my point. Nothing that matters. Because what you and I are being spoon-fed does not matter. It's a distraction campaign. It's a superficial slush pile. It's a fucking joke, is what it is. And our masters are laughing at us, but most people are taken in by the entertainment. I still enjoy some of the Hunter S. Thompson stories and shit like that. I do. If I was drunk and stoned out of my mind, I might watch a fucking Johnny Knoxville video if somebody popped it on and I was having to suffer through somebody else's company. but willingly, it's pretty unlikely. This shit is noise. It's pointless fucking noise. You and I aren't supposed to know anything that reflects reality or you and I could use as a tool. And it's getting worse and worse and worse, and most people don't realize this. I popped into TikTok last night. I do this every now and again. I fucking loathe the TikTok app. It is the worst of the bunch. It is fucking dreadful. And last night I was laughing at myself, and I kept thinking, no wonder all of these brain-dead kids praise the TikTok app. Because it's catering to this sensational slush pile of adult fairy tales. I mean, I read numerous times when I jumped in there and I started keeping up with some of the TikTok bullshit for a hot minute, mind you. And as a reminder, I've already had 3 or 4 accounts deleted on there. In less than 6 months, I think still. Maybe a little over. Maybe it's been 7 months. I can't keep track of this shit. The year's moving pretty fast. So take that with a grain of salt. But a lot of kids on there, I saw numerous people post this. TikTok's where I get all my information. That's where I get all my, my esoteric wisdom and just stupid fucking shit. Adult fairy tales. It's what our masters want you to repeat. That's why it's on the internet. That's why it's at the top of your feed. It's why accounts that aren't censored have, how many thousands of people following them. And if you pay attention to the stories that they promote, typically speaking, you're going to see the same stories across these accounts. This should be a red flag in the age of censorship. You should question, why is the algorithm posting or promoting this crap? I mean, it's also posting shit because the AI is running rampant and no one did anything to stop that either. Some of you have heard me whine about all of this. I've whined about the TTP, which is the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and the Obama administration, and things that people should know about, but nobody fucking knows about on the internet for the most part. And they certainly don't care about when I do leave it online. It's also something that you wouldn't hear come up on TikTok, typically speaking. Because people aren't stressing shit that people should know that would benefit us, so you could recognize propaganda for what it is. You could see what's coming. You could have foresight. You could think a couple steps ahead and a couple steps back. So you could appreciate where we are, why this is, and just what a goddamn shit show it is. It's by design, not by coincidence, as I've been echoing and I've been overstating these days. I've been doing that a lot lately because most people don't realize that. Most people are still living under the superficial umbrella of, what is it, predictive programming. As if our masters are, tossing something out there and just coincidentally getting some of it right, but it's also just, ooh. I mean, it is foreshadowing in some cases, but they're also just flat out laughing at us and telling us what they're going to do to see whether or not we do anything to stop it. But people can't think a couple steps ahead, so when it does finally pan out, then they're like, oh my god, The Simpsons got it right. Because usually you only hear about The Simpsons. Because that's the main cartoon that's been shopped around under that bullshit banner. It's lesser magic. This is another example of things that people don't understand because you're not supposed to. Usually I'll talk about how superficial people, these are the examples I use. Superficial people rattle off brainwashing, and it's really psychic driving. Look up the name Ewen, last name Cameron. That's the fucking bastard who knocked out psychic driving. There are so many examples of this. Too many, to be honest. The examples I used to rattle off having to do with Seminar 2, having to do with misconceptions, mumbo jumbo, and mistranslations relate to, usually I'll whine about, people talk about Pandora's box, but the translation is a jar, Jar. But people still talk about the box, and that's a fallacy. When you hear people say, or you think of the Bush song, by Gavin Rossdale and that garbage, everything's Zen. Zen is a mistranslation. We don't know if there was a word and or what that word was that meant Zen. But that's what people use. You start trying to trace it back, you should have yourself a laugh. And that's about as good as it gets these days based on what people repeat. But as always, what the fuck do I know?